Namaste. Welcome to the Shaman The Mermaid. We are here again for the Harvest Full Moon in your astrological report for October 1st all the way through the 16th. What do you have to say about this one?
Well, don't be afraid, but it starts out with a pretty good energy, I would say, and the potential for it to get really fast and furiously down a rabbit hole is there, but also there's a really nice alignment with the Pluto energy is mostly what we're focusing on this time, for us to really get in our own current, and instead of going down a rabbit hole, like getting in the flow of things and moving forward with a lot of that direct energy with the big three that we've been talking about all year long, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's start off on Thursday, October 1st, which kicks off that Aries Full Moon. And like I said, it starts off with some pretty intense energy right away. And you want to explain it?
Aries Full Moon. There you have it. No. The moon will be conjunct with the planet Chiron, the wounded healer, and close by, Mars and the planet Eris will be conjunct together. Now, we've referenced Eris in a few other reports. She is the sister to Mars, or sister to Aries, and her name, when it's translated, goes to the likes of the goddess of discord, the goddess of chaos, the goddess of manslaughter, the goddess of forgetfulness.
Not a lot of positives there. Not a lot of positives with Eris. That's spelled E-R-I-S, just to be clear, not to confuse it with Aries, her brother energy. And all of those planetary bodies, Moon, Chiron, Mars, and Eris, are all in the sign of Aries, where the full moon is. So there's a lot of that kind of warlike energy or fighting energy or aggressive energy or assertive energy with the Mars Eris Aries situation. But then throw in Moon and Chiron, which is a little bit more like emotional and sensitive and inner child energy, and they're all like jumbled around there in that full moon eve of the full moon eve is Wednesday, and the full moon is Thursday, October 1st, and that energy will carry through. That holds like 3 days, so a little bit on into the second too. So what does all that mean? All that party of the aggressive, assertive, power, a lot of ego energy in there too, with that inner child sensitivities, moonlight, watery, and the wounded healer of Chiron. What do you think that little party is?
Sounds like a pissing party to me.
It does.
It can mean a lot of separation, because Aries, Eris, Mars, and all those energies are about the individuated self. And it's like everybody pulling off and being like, nah, me, mine, my problem, my thing, my whatever you stand for individually, you could feel separated and isolated from others and against them. It's the warlike energy. And this also plays out at the social, cultural, political level as well, not just here in the United States, but anywhere in the world. This tension is moving around of the individual feeling like they're pushed up into a corner, that they've been wounded, that they're isolated, that they have memories of being wounded. That's the moon energy. And then Eris is discord and chaos. And there is not only that floating around, we have all the things happening around us with the economy and COVID, and then people individually are feeling erratic with themselves based on their isolation. I think being isolated physically, socially, economically, and from your community makes people feel erratic and chaotic.
Yeah, so as I said, it could be like you could get all Twitter-pated and go down a rabbit hole of victim and martyr could come up on this one hugely. And a lot of bitterness, resentment, and those memories and the wound. But let's think of the positive aspects that could come out of this particular full moon. where you assert yourself and you take charge of the reins of your life instead of letting somebody else always give you the directive. This is a great time to grab the reins. And remember Chiron, the wounded healer. Sometimes we get stuck on the first part of his name, the wounded healer. And he's the healer. He has addressed the wounds. The wounds have been healed. And so, yes, you can go into a scar, a wound, and kind of feel the tenderness there. But then in that remembrance, because the moon is conjuncted, so remembering our wounds is going to be a big thing. In remembering these wounds, remember that you've healed them and that you've overcome them and that there's lessons in there for you to draw back out. It's like, you know, when you take a class, a great workshop or a lecture from somebody and you're copiously taking notes throughout the whole thing, and then maybe a couple years later or whatever, something sparks a memory and you're like, oh yeah, that great lecture, and you go back into your notes and you pull out some of those great nuggets you wrote down during that time that were really beneficial to you. That's the same positive energy of Moon conjunct Chiron, is it helps you remember your tenacity, your strength, your ability to move through difficult times, that you are a healer. Internally, you are your own best healer. And so that inner child that is also the moon energy can remember, like, I've got this. And you harness that Mars energy with the goddess of chaos, and just let yourself feel your surge of power. And I want to talk about chaos because that's going to lead us to our theme this time. And I mentioned that Pluto is really the impetus around our theme, which we haven't mentioned the whole theme yet because we were still stuck on that very first day of Aries Full Moon. But Pluto is about your soul's purpose, about what you're here to do, what you're here to unfold and bring to fruition as a gift. And I came up with this concept because I think there's a lot of chaos right now. And as Michael said, we're going to feel this sense of isolation and separation. What about what I think? And what about my opinion? What about me? That it's good to get in your own channel or current of energy. So here's the theme. Amidst the chaos, a current of Kismet flows. Follow the synchronicity and the path will unfold. That's a mouthful. I know it's a lot, some big words in there, like Kismet, which means your fate or destiny, and synchronicities, which that word in and of itself says so much. Sin is without and chron is time. So synchronicities are out of time and space. There's this accordance or alignment that happens together. And so I feel like what is coming up right now is in that sense of self, the Aries full moon self, Aries is all about the self. Instead of getting that pissy, the piss party, as Michael alluded to, that this could fall under, allow yourself to just get in your own flow. Like, think of it as your own little kayak or canoe, and you're finding one of these rhythms or currents of energy that flows through the cosmos that seems like chaos, seems like Aries is causing total discord and havoc, but in that chaos is the order. And so you find one of these currents and you get in it, and that's going to take you to the Kismet or the destiny, and you just follow the signs, look for the alignments, look for the synchronicities, and then your path unfolds. And your path is that soul's purpose. That's that Pluto energy. And why are we talking about Pluto so much? Well, if you remember, the big three are for 2020 that are really having the strongest hold on all of this chaos and craziness that we're feeling are Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter. Well, Pluto and Saturn have already, Jupiter and Saturn have already gone direct after having been retrograde for a super long time. Not super long, but few months at least. And now they've stationed and gone direct. So they're taking a forward charge. The last of the three that's been in retrograde needing to take that direction and go forward is Pluto, or your soul's purpose. And it's going to go direct on October 4th. So once Pluto stations and goes direct on the 4th, which is a Sunday, you're going to feel this huge shift of momentum because the three of them, they're kind of like the dynamic trio. I almost said duo, but it's the three. They're moving in strong force forward, taking us towards that walk to the next evolution of the collective soul, the collective humanity, but the individual or the self soul too is going to really take a shift in direction. So you're probably going to feel that, and my suggestion is find your channel, find your current, find your river that is for you, because we've been trying to just everybody be sheep, everybody get together, everybody do the same thing. Find what feels good to you and then go with it. We're all going to end up in the same place, many paths to the same place. Find your path and your purpose. So again, the theme this time is Amidst the Chaos, a current of Kismet flows. Follow the synchronicity and the path will unfold. It's kind of a mouthful, but it says a lot. Think about it. It's on your screen. You can break it down. So that's kind of that first week in the full moon. We have another good one, though, before we move out of that first week, and that's on Friday, October 2nd. You want to speak to that one?
Venus leaves the sign of Leo and she enters into Virgo. We feel that Venus is pretty comfortable in the sign of Virgo because it's an ability to get things accomplished and to focus in on the personal self and health. This is another one of those personal pieces. Virgo is a personal sign, and so Venus is a personal planet. This would be an opportunity for you to, when you dive into your personal power, to say, how can I make myself better? That's what Virgo seeks. How do I make myself more effective? How do I make myself more of service? And how do I do it as a daily routine, or as the yogis might say, a sadhana? So Venus kicking off in Virgo is like a month of setting an intention and having a sadhana for yourself.
It's like getting the stroke of the paddles down. Getting that in that nice routine. And yeah, like you said, I love Venus in Virgo. There's something just really comforting about love having the routine, love having routine, and love having boundaries and realistic goals. And when I say love, I mean love in the biggest sense of the word. Venus represents self-love, self-care, that kind of love, but also that magnetic love of love for all beings. And it gets that kind of container there. And we mentioned October 4th is Pluto Direct, big day, big energy. Just, I would lay low and let the current pick you up and carry you rather than trying to like paddle it on that particular day. Just float with it. What do you have to say about Pluto Direct?
This is like a march towards the year 2024. Because Pluto is going direct right at the point where it met up with Saturn at the 22nd degree of Capricorn, and now Saturn is direct, and Saturn is leaving Pluto for the next about 30 years, 33 years. They won't meet up again until mid-century, and so it's like a pull out of the station. Jupiter's going to cruise past Pluto here shortly, and they won't meet up again for another 13 years, and everybody's heading towards the sign of Aquarius. The planet Saturn and Jupiter will go into Aquarius basically on the winter solstice this year on the 21st of December, and then Pluto will go in there a year or two later, but that's a huge energy shift. And so this whole breakdown of 2020 with all of those three planets in the sign of Capricorn, of karma, of karmic reckoning, they've made their point this year. And now Saturn and Jupiter, who are all about faith and trust and getting in your integrity and maturing yourself, are saying, okay, let's go on to create the new in the sign of Aquarius. And Pluto, leaving this last point where the meeting happened on January 12th, 2020, when COVID was just a little baby inkling and kind of blew up at that time, it's revisiting that point. And so this is like a karmic check-in. Pluto's stopping right at that karmic station and then going to go forward
and bring new energy, creating new currents for the soul self. Remember, Pluto is the soul. What else would you say about Pluto besides it's your purpose?
It's what's in the collective shadows. It's the collective unconsciousness. And this includes society, our world, our dream states. Pluto is like what is in the underworld. So when Pluto is coming out of a retrograde and going forward, things that weren't totally clear or totally out of the shadow realm yet start to emerge. And it's like, oh, I can see what that is now.
Where is Pluto home at?
Pluto's home in Scorpio.
So all the things that we say about Pluto, the planet, you're probably a little bit more familiar with the sign Scorpio. It's similar to the Scorpio energy. It has that same ability to try to merge things and flesh things out and dive into the shadow, and it can be a little daunting. And our soul is not this like nefarious energy within us, but if we aren't willing to do some of the hard work it's asking for us, it feels like it's, the shadow is scary, and it feels to us like it's nefarious, but it's really just trying to push us into our right way, into right path for us. So hold on October 4th, and then we'll try to cruise through the rest. That was a big kickoff at the beginning of this week. And then things kind of, well, I was going to say they lighten up, but not totally. There's a couple big squares coming up. But the very next thing is Mercury in opposition to Uranus on Wednesday, October 7th. What do you think of that one?
This is it's a either or, yes and more. Oppositions are two energies coming together, sitting across the table from each other. Basically, they're holding each other's attention, and what that attention is depends upon how it plays out. Mercury and Uranus are octaves of each other. They both have to do with the mental state, thinking. They have to do with electricity, innovation. They have to do with the nervous system and the internet and connections of things. Mercury is like the personal mind, Uranus is the high mind, or your personal unconscious. So when they're in opposition, there could be an illumination. It's basically like a full Mercury or a full Uranus. And so there can be an illumination of some ideas or concepts or connections of the neural network, or things coming together like lightning branching across the sky. It can also be dissonance, though. They can be opposite of each other, so it can seem like two opposing energies have crashed into each other, or lightning stroke at the same place.
This is one of those, why I use the word synchronicity, is that there's these alignments, these cosmic alignments. And I feel like Mercury opposing Uranus, Mercury in Scorpio, no less, opposing Uranus in Taurus, is a really good chance for us to sit, great day for meditation, sit and get some of these alignments or cosmic downloads that will help you know which current, which path, which way do I go. This is all settling in. On that day after Pluto goes direct, you get this day to sit down and like read the map, the cosmic map of which path is mine to take. So that's October 7th. And then October 9th, we come into a pretty big heavy day, I think. It's Pluto squaring Mars. So what do you think of that one?
That's heavy duty. Mars and Pluto have a lot of relationship to each other. Mars is your personal desires and self, like from the ego persona side, and Pluto is the soul desires and self. So the personal desire is crossing the soul desire. Now, this is part of the yogic process of bringing Mars in alignment with Pluto. That's what we do. That's the alchemy of being a yoga, mind, body, and spirit. You're getting the body and mind in line with the spirit. Here, they're squaring. And so this is potential for the personal self, the ego self, to be rejecting or pushing against the soul, like just going for what it wants personally, throwing a little tantrum, ignoring what its duties are from the soul, or ignoring the intuitive messages. But as Katrina says on this one, Pluto always wins.
Pluto always wins. Yeah, like to me, Mars square Pluto is the whole plight of humanity. It's like what our little self wants to do versus what our high self wants to do. And our high self wants us to be in harmony, wants us to be our personal best so that we can help others be their personal best, and we become fulfilled, enlightened, reach that nirvana state, samadhi, all those kind of higher energies that we are striving for. And Mars wants like a fast car and a good job and to do adventures and climb mountains and tackle things, and it's not really looking at that bigger picture of what's important in life. It's looking at more the superficial, personal level things. And I guess I shouldn't say it's always superficial, but it can often be misdirected and misguided to be towards really superficial desires. But that's not to say Mars, you can harness Mars to use that power. Think the ram. Aries is the ram. Use that ram to go towards those higher purposes of your soul self rather than chasing these kind of insignificant desires. Like money and power and stuff. That's not what we need right now. That's what we've been chasing. That's what's crumbling down. That's what's the problem right now. And in the shift, if the individual shifts gears, we want to tackle and get everybody to shift gear, but we can't get everybody to shift gear. We can't even get everybody to agree on certain basic fundamentals in life, like what is truth, right? So we can't get everybody on the same page, but we can get ourselves. Like if I get me and you get you, and we're all working towards being our best version of ourselves, pretty soon we're all going to be floating down these rivers together in our little canoes, headed towards the same direction of being in our best way. That's ultimately what we really want anyway. All of us want to have this really harmonious, beautiful life, living together on the earth, a healthy earth, coexisting with one another, deep down in your soul self. That is what you want. So just get yourself, use this Aries full moon to focus on that. That's also a Cancer half moon on that day. So it's a good balance of emotions is the way I kind of look at the Cancer half moon. You'll come into that opposition at least with some balanced emotions. So that's a plus. Cruising along, Saturday, October 10th, we have a trine, and Michael was really excited about this one. He thought it was a nice boon to what we need, especially after that Mars-Pluto square. You want to talk about the trine?
I think I said it was like adventure.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I was like, how did you come up with Venus trine Uranus as adventure?
Uranus is the one that introduces new things into our field. And Venus is our personal self, and the trine is a harmonious, and it's like something new comes in, and it's like, whoa, this sounds good, let's go for it. It's adventuresome. And it could be an actual travel, but it also might be a new idea or a new undertaking of something in your life. And I think this is that spark happening. Go on adventure.
It's part of that follow the synchronicities and the path will unfold.
Yeah.
This is a great day for those synchronicities to show up because Venus is your values and Uncle Uranus is that random spontaneity. You might be like, oh, there's a sign. Synchronicities are those signs. So amidst the chaos, a current of Kismet flows. Follow the synchronicities and the path will unfold.
Pow.
Then we move on Sunday, October 11th, and that is another big day, big energy day that could have some potential challenges. You want to speak to that one?
Sun will square the planet Jupiter, and this is calling bullshit.
I love it when he swears because he hardly ever does, and it's just as like a little jolt. It's like Uranus. Sun square Jupiter is a big bullshit call out. So that could be a big reveal day for lots of things, including our individual self, because remember, we're all under this kickoff of full moon in Aries, which is about the self. So even though when you first heard that calling out the bullshit, you were probably thinking of your political party that you're aligned with, the other side getting called out, or whatever. We're always like, yeah, they're gonna get it. Well, you could be the one that's getting it.
It could be you calling your own bullshit.
Yeah,
like you
that's
suddenly
true.
realize something, you're like, nuts. I've been totally wrong on this. Which is good to have that realization, because then it ends the facade and it allows you to move forward into a new truth. But don't always pin it on like, oh yeah, that means so-and-so is gonna get it.
Right. Especially sun, because the sun is the outward expression of ourselves, and Jupiter is big truth, and they're squaring. So maybe something we've been blah, 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 going around representing ends up being called out too. So yeah, big day. Watch that one. That's October 11th. And then cruising along, October 12th, there's a couple sextiles, and we don't talk about these too much because they're smaller aspects, but they're harmonious aspects, and Michael thought they would be good to mention in this report because, well, one, we need some nuggets with all this square business, some nuggets of goodness, but also they could be part of these synchronicities that we can be tuning into to help us find the right current of energy to be flowing in for our soul self. And when you want to speak to these?
Jupiter will sextile Neptune, and Mercury will sextile Venus. And to me, these are very similar-ish things. Jupiter and Neptune is it's just a positive boost to understanding stuff in the spiritual world. Isn't that a good word? Stuff. Jupiter is what you're seeking, what you're questing for, truth. And Neptune is that untouchable, unseeable, unknowable in the physic world. It's like you get to touch in and meditate in or go out into nature and you feel something and it's like, okay. It's like clarity, it's that synchronicity, the current. And Mercury with Venus is like, then an idea sparks. Okay, I can work with this. And then again, it's like that networking out and going. In Venus, I'm going to use the word here of something you have love or passion for. I'm going to do this. You go out in the woods and you get a strike about you want to save the planet. And you're like, it's the trees. I'm going to plant trees. It's that simple. And I'm going to start a foundation and everybody else can plant trees. And who doesn't like trees?
Right. I like trees. They're a big piece of what's happening right now. Our trees are the antennas on the planet. Just a little sidebar here that the Native Americans refer to as the antennas or the connectors or the conduit of energy between Great Spirit, our Wankantanka, and our beautiful Mother Earth, and they're burning down. And so prayers for the fires to save our trees and save those antennas so we can keep getting those spiritual downloads from them. I digress. We'll keep going. We have 2 more days to talk about. 2 big days, actually. So hang in there. October 13th, a Thursday, that is Sun opposite Mars, and Mercury is going to go direct. What do you think of those ones? Yeah.
We're in Mercury's shadow right now, so everything happening from the beginning of October up until the 13th is setting the stage or foreshadowing. And Mercury retrograde, this is, I don't want to put doom and gloom, but I'll just say it's an important one. It's retrograding through the election time here in the United States. It's retrograding in Pluto's home territory of Scorpio. And so it's plowing through the underworld. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I think it's more of that big reveal. A lot of shizzle's going to get dredged up. A lot of, Mercury is communication, it's information, it's technology, it's transportation. And I think as it's going retrograde through the underworld sign, the sign where everything goes into cremation and dissolution and destruction, it's going to be like a big backhoe pulling up all the shizzle from the last 2,000 years of the patriarchy going, oh yeah, look what we found. We found this and this and this. And it's just going to dump this pile of shizzle right in front of us, and we're going to be looking at it. And that is one aspect on that day. The other piece is Sun's opposite Mars. And if you think about these as archetypes, it's like Mars or Aries sitting across the table from Zeus. These are 2 big energies. Both of them have a lot to do with the self. And the ego self is versing, or not necessarily versing, but in opposition to or opposing or looking at how I show up. So this is a great time for us to reconcile some of our own bullshit that's being dredged up and say, you know what, I'm going to put that to rest. I'm not going to run that mantra anymore in my head. I'm not going to use that spiel to people anymore. I'm going to drop the facade. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to use my warrior energy to show up and be for real and let my sun shine that way. Or it could be a big battle between the ego and what your outward expression of self is wanting to do. That's a lot of where I think conflict is in people's mental disorders, is what they want to show up as and then what they feel they are inside. And that could be a day for that. Do you have any more on Sun opposite Mars? October 13th is a big day for sure. And you had said something earlier when we were reviewing this. It's the death of something. Isn't this the day that when Mars opposite Sun, was this the one you said was the death of something?
I think it's the prelude to Thursday, October 15th, which is Sun square Pluto.
And that's this is the final day of the report, and we're leaving you with a big mess. So this is the death of something. Yeah.
Pluto is Shiva energy, death and destruction. It's also rebirth and resurrection. But on this one, you know, Pluto's in the sign of Capricorn, and it has just gone direct 10 days earlier. And I think this is like a death knell of something. You know, it can be an internal idea death knell, it can be the death of somebody, it can be the death of a corporation, an institution. Unfortunately, some of it's playing out as deaths of parts of Mother Nature, but this is like when it's like real. Like, you know, if we haven't been paying attention to something and suddenly we're like, ooh. One thing our son Bo has been paying attention to is the clock that scientists are putting out now as to how much time we have left before there's irrevocable damage for the humans to remain on this earth. And they've set the clock at something like 7 years, 22 days, and 15 minutes. And he was saying to us, you know, by that time I won't even be 30. And the world will be so irrevocably out of balance that it won't be able to sustain ourselves. You know, this is like a wake-up call. Pluto squaring the sun at this critical time in 2020 is like, people, this is a death march. You either need to start moving towards life, or if you continue down the same path, it's going to be not good.
Right, for whom the bell tolls. So, as your stepdad says, either get busy living or get busy dying, because that's kind of what this square, Pluto square sun is bringing forth on October 15th. And choose living. I mean, go back to the mantra or the theme for this time: amidst the chaos, a current of Kismet, your destiny, fate. Kismet is destiny or fate. A current of Kismet flows. Follow the synchronicities and the path will unfold. Everything is there for us. Everything is unfolding as it should. So don't let the chaos consume us. Don't let the Mars energy become your battleground of fighting these unnecessary fights with self or other. Instead, just use that power, your own personal strength, to be paddling down your own current. Get your own flow. We'll all end up in the same place eventually. And then that leads us to the next report, which will come back to you on the Libra New Moon, October 16th.
There we have it, peeps.
Hang in there. Find your flow. There's one for you. Everybody's got a current out there for just what you need for your soul's purpose. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.
Namaste.